We're back with Coach Abbs, a winner this week, and the Trine Thunder go to 1-0. But before we talk football, I noticed yesterday that you were at the 9/11 event at the Firth Center. Admiral Masso there talking about being at the Pentagon during the attack, and you know, a lot of people on campus talking this week about what a dramatic presentation that was. I know a lot of your players were there, Coach. Why was it important for you to get the team there for that event?
Well, it doesn't seem like it was a long time ago, but for our freshmen, they were born in 2001.
Right.
And, you know, to me and to a lot of us old guys, I guess now, that's what we are, you know, it feels like it was just yesterday. So it's great to get the kids exposure to history. You know, my experience with 9/11 was during my second hour teaching prep, with my third hour period ready to come in, sixth grade social studies class when I was a high school teacher and coach, and middle school teacher and high school coach, and we were watching it unfold on television in the classroom, and I had to explain what was going on, and it was one of the more challenging lessons that I ever had to teach, for sure. But it was good to bring that to life for our young men and women here at Trine.
Well said. Last Thursday, 38-21 over Manchester. Your team got off to a great start and held on for an easy win. I want to talk about your QB a little bit. Brandon Winters, very efficient game, 13 for 19, a couple of touchdowns. You break the film down over the weekend. What did you like about his performance?
Brandon made great decisions. He processed his reads and he reacted to his reads. He didn't try too hard. He just took what was there, and because of our ability to run the ball, and I attribute that to our offensive line play was phenomenal. Our running back play was great, but the run really made them do some things that allowed us to take advantage of some passing concepts. And Brandon was able to do that right away. Did a nice job. Really processed his reads quickly, and hit some guys that were wide open for some big gains.
Yeah, for sure. In the running game, Dylan Dowling had a big day, 24 carries, almost 100 yards, 3 scores. You know, Lamar Carswell is not walking back through that door. You know, you've turned that running game over to some new guys. All of them put up numbers, but let's talk about Dowling. What did you think of his performance?
I'm very proud of Dylan. He came here as a quarterback out of high school, and then made the transition last year to outside linebacker.
Wow.
And you know, we tried him actually his freshman year. We had him simulate the running back position before our Hope game. They had a big, strong running back. It was built a lot like Dylan, and he did a great job in that role. You know, obviously last year we weren't going to have him sit behind a couple of good running backs.
Right.
So we tried him at outside linebacker, and then we went through the offseason, lost some running backs because of some grade issues, because of some personal issues, different things. We knew that he was a guy that we could slide in there to do a good job. We also had some young guys, some freshmen and transfers that came in as well, and gave us a lot of great production.
You had 19 pass attempts in the game, 54 carries. Do you go into it planning a pass-run ratio, or does the game dictate how that goes?
Well, predictability is vulnerability, right? So we try to stay as unpredictable as possible, but if we're able to grind out 4 or 5 yards a pop, we're going to do that. I mean, it's just the safest way to move the ball. But you know, going into the game, we wanted to be more balanced, but our offensive line did such a great job of getting a push. We really didn't need to throw the ball as much. I really believe at times this year we will. You'll see a lot more of an air attack, but and really, I mean, you say 19 throws. That sounds like a lot compared to the last 2 years, right? But no, we went in with a balanced approach to balance the run, the pass, and the screen. Hit a great screen play right before the half to set up a 51-yard field goal. You know, just a great job of executing, and a great job of checking things at the line by our quarterback, by our senior quarterback.
I'm looking forward to September 21st because I get to watch Simeon Washington for the first time. He had a big game, led the team in tackles, got a little bit of pub in some of the local newspapers.
Right. The
senior's playing pretty well. Talk about Simeon's game so far and where he can take that defense.
Well, Simeon's a 2-time first team all-conference middle linebacker. He's done a great job since he moved to that position. Came here as an outside linebacker, obviously, actually, but since he moved and played some as a freshman outside linebacker, moved to inside and has been a force. The best thing about Simeon this year has been his leadership. He's led by example, which is just doing what you're supposed to do, right? And then also has been very vocal and has corrected young guys when they made mistakes, and have been very active in getting us in the right defensive call and lined up correctly. And he's just, his growth throughout the 4 years he's been here have been unparalleled by anybody that I've had the opportunity to coach in 14 years.
Manchester put up 21 points in the second half. The score was a little closer at the end than the game actually was.
Right.
Were you subbing some guys in defensively in the second half? And what do you read from that second half effort by your defense?
We were subbing some guys in offensively, defensively. We're subbing some guys in on special teams. And it's just a situation where the turnovers are what really hurt us. I mean, we can make substitutions, and one mistake doesn't turn it into a touchdown.
Right.
But when we give them short fields and we don't run time off the clock, then the game gets a little closer than it probably should be. And their 3 touchdowns and the plays that got them inside the 5-yard line, we made just careless mistakes, selfish fits, not just simply doing our job. I mean, and we learn from those, and it's great to have those mistakes and come out with a win, because that's really how you get better. Results aren't always. Don't confuse results with perfection. Something Coach Land used to say when he was the head coach. Sometimes when you win, you can fool yourself into thinking you're better than you are when you win by a lot. You know what I mean? So we welcome those mistakes as long as they don't cost us games.
I had a question about the process. So you get a film, you put a game on film like you did last Thursday. Do you watch the film as a large group? Do the player groups watch it individually with their position coaches? How do you do that correction on the film during the practice week?
Oh man, during a week of practice, going into the week of practice, just to consider and to plan out what we're going to practice against, our staff breaks down about 15 data points for every single play, hash, down, distance, who they have in the game. I mean, all kinds of different stuff. And then we decide what we're going to practice against based on what we get and the reports that we run. Then we'll script all of our practices, plan out all of our practices to play this defense against this play and this defense against this play. All of that's videoed, both a wide copy from the top of the press box and one from the end zone, from either the lift or the scoreboard. And then every night after practice, our individual coaches will grade that film.
The practice film.
They will grade the practice film, every single play. So, for example, yesterday's practice had 160 plays. So we'll watch those 160 plays. We have ways we can cut it up. So, for example, I coached the outside linebackers this year. Out of those 160 plays, I thought that there were 21 plays we needed to take a look at during our position meeting.
Right.
5 of those were good. 16 were not.
Right.
So, but and that's not bad out of 160 plays. We want to shoot for perfection, and some of the plays are just things we need to discuss. So then we'll grade those in the evening individually. Then we'll come back and watch them as a staff the next day. We'll watch not every single play, but the plays that the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinators want to watch. And then we'll take those plays and the plays that we had selected the previous night and watch those with our young men. So a lot of people are like, well, what do you do during the rest of the time? It's the practice planning and the film grading and the time with kids and making sure they're going to class and making sure that they're staying up on their grades and everything else. So that's what we do.
Are you practicing on the game field now?
We are.
Yes.
We are on the turf. We're on the game field. We are full speed ahead. The experience on the grass, though, was wonderful.
Right.
I think it really helped us in the game last week, to be 100% honest, because the slipping and sliding that occurred on the game field on Thursday night last week happened on the practice field since the beginning of camp. And it's kind of an added extra boost to morale during practice this week to be out on the turf.
The new field looks amazing, and Trine fans will be able to see it September 21st in our first home game. Last thing, let's preview this week's game. Bluffton got roughed up a little bit by Worcester this weekend. Obviously, you've taken a look at them to get ready for your game plan. What challenges does Bluffton present, and what are you looking at on Saturday?
They have explosive backs, and they've had one of the best defenses in their league for a long time. You know, they're a team that really, if you look at the first 3 quarters of their game last week against the College of Worcester, they drove the ball down the field and then had their drive stalled with careless penalties, you know, jumping off sides, or they're turning the ball over. Worcester scored most of their points at the end of the game. So it was a closer contest than the score really showed. They're well coached, they play hard, and they've got 2 really dynamic running backs and a receiver that's returning that had over 120 yards receiving against us last year. So we've got to make sure that we know where he is, and we've got to make sure that we're playing disciplined football, not making those careless mistakes that we made against Manchester, somewhat, you know, selfish mistakes that we made against Manchester. And then offensively, we've got to make sure that we're playing disciplined and not turning the ball over and committing penalties. If we can do that, I think we can control the game. But, you know, that's a big if. Right. I mean, that's what the game of football comes down to. It's the discipline and the toughness to play that type of team. So they're a quality opponent with a lot of skill, and they're well coached, and we're playing on the road. You know, and playing on the road is never an easy thing to do.
It's week 2. The Trine Thunder 1-0 on the season. They will play at Bluffton Saturday at 1:30. Coach Abbs, best of luck.
Thanks, man.